Tony said he doesn't want any pre-prepared questions, so we're just going to go with it. And I'm a pretty prepared sort of guy. So the idea of having Tony here is not from McGrath, by the way. We've got a lot of McGrath people in the room. I've also got non-McGrath people in the room. So I think we're in a world now where the marketplace is big enough for all of us, and there's some great people out there that can share some really valuable ideas, and I believe Tony's one of them because he just stays in his lane and gets on with it. So, number one selling principle, 5.8 million in gross commission, great rent roll, really culturally aligned team, been in the game roughly 5 years. 6 or 7.
Years at this
5 sounds better, but 6 or 7 we'll keep it with.
We'll go all right. 4 years if that's okay.
4 years. So Tony, what did you do before getting into real estate?
Mate, obviously you can hear I'm Irish. Trained as a carpenter, came here in 2011, spent the first couple of years working in the mining sector, so driving heavy plant machinery, that kind of thing. In about 2013, I got an injury, a bulging disc to my neck. Had to reskill and randomly ended up in real estate. When I say randomly, my father was the principal of a real estate agency in Ireland, but completely different. Like, it's just a different industry. They're not comparable in the way. But to answer your question, I was in construction like any good Irish male who left school too young. Construction was the answer. Got into real estate. Justin Marsden was actually would have been part of my journey from the very start. So I worked with Ray White at the beginning. Got in, got going, and never looked back. Okay, so you spoke to Justin, and tell us about your introduction into the real estate space, because we've got some emerging talent here. I mean, we've got some star performers, but we've also got some newcomers. We've also got property managers that can take a lot away from this as well. So what was your introduction? Did you start off as a sales agent? Did you start as PM, or would you administration? Where'd you start? Look, I think I was probably one of the last of the old school method of real estate, which is basically you've got a seat and you've got a mobile phone. To be fair, I spent about 9 months working as a sales associate to a mother-daughter duo. But literally within 9 months, started there in February. By the following January, I was to a certain degree out of my own, selling with the principal of the agency I was with. So just straight hit the ground running. Not what I would recommend. I don't believe it is the way forward, and it's probably the highest failure rate. The chair that I sat in the office I was in, I was there in that business for only 18 months. There was 8 people sat in that chair. 7 of them are no longer in the industry. I was the only one within that seat that made it past 3 months. So this sink or swim model, in my opinion, is strongly proven to fail.
So okay, so 3 months, you got past 3 months. Why you? What's the difference in that 3 months you got? I mean, there's a pretty transient industry, but
yeah.
What got you to the next stage?
You know, it's the question I hate the most at the listing table as well. Why you? Because it's not one thing, and I'm sure for anybody here who does what they do at a decent level, it's not one thing that I do. It's not one thing that Alex does. It's absolutely everything. I try to do everything a little bit different, to be a little bit sharper. And obviously any high performer, in my opinion, and I say this about myself, must be a little bit broken somewhere. Why do you keep pushing and pushing and pushing? And you look at any sports star, when is enough? You know, so I think there's a mindset of a person. Like, you could be successful and do 1/5 of the business that a high performer does and have a better life balance. For me, I was just, this is a short game. No disrespect to anybody who's going to do it until they're 70, and it's a great job to get longevity out of. But I don't plan on doing that. I want to play a short and a sharp game, maybe 15 years from start to finish. So I want to go I'm very competitive. I want to be the number 1 in Queensland. Alex, did you hear that? I want to be the number 1 in Queensland.
Got a target on your back, AJ?
He's had a target on his back for 7 or 8 years. It's only now he knows about it. And nothing but respect, but I want to be the top of my game, and I'm very close, not as close as I want to be. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm very driven to keep pushing.
So driven, where does that come from? Because a lot of people start and they're hungry and they're motivated and ready to get started, and they make 50 calls in the first day, and they do that for a week, maybe 2.
Then they go on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, so what's the trend that got past you, got you past that stage? We're talking about motivation. What drives you?
And it's funny, you know, if you asked me this question 2 months ago, I wouldn't have had an honest answer. We talk about our why, and it's kind of a thing that everybody talks about. I learned mine reading a book over Christmas, and I don't read much, but I just want to reach my full potential, simple as. I just want to be able to walk away and say, I did it at the highest level, and I reached my full potential, and that's all I want. It's quite simple. What motivates me is me. If you're looking for motivation externally, you're in trouble. McGrath can do a million things for you, but they can't get you out of bed in the morning. They can't get you past that rejection, and they can't keep you moving forward. So anybody who's successful in any industry, they don't need external motivation. Not saying that you can't get it and you can't change your current patterns, but my answer to your question is you need to be self-driven if you want to get past average in anything, because nobody's going to do it for you. For me, I don't know, mate, it's hard to describe what makes you you. I just want to do it. I'm hungry. And I feel as though I have so much to learn. I'm more frustrated now than I've ever been. My expectations are higher. When my team drops the ball, it's like, why? You know, we can continue to do better. We only need to be the smallest bit better every day, and we're far better at the end of the year.
Okay. So getting a year into the career for you, what then? I mean, we can talk about your end game where you're at. You want to be the best that you can be based on being better than yourself the previous year. We understand that. Getting through the next year, I think, is where a lot of people find a bit of a challenge to take that next step. Now, a year in calendar terms could be a year, but some people might be a year in the game and they're 3 years down and they still haven't progressed past that first year. So what's the stages that you went through after you've identified, well, this is for me, I'm going to run with it? What's the next step?
So you're talking about very early stages in the game?
Yeah, early stages.
So for me, it goes one or two ways. This industry has a compounding impact. The more positive you do, the more that will come back to you. So if you spend the first year offending people, lying to vendors, and just being a shit professional, it's probably not going to have a very positive impact on your second year. So what you need to focus on is the people you interact with and the positive impact you have in their lives. The communities that we sell in are extraordinarily small. We forget that. They share a Woolies, they share a school gate. It's literally a small community. So Richard Branson says to build big, think small. So my answer to that question would be, are you looking after everybody you interact with? If I list with you, is it better? Will it be a better outcome than me listing with your competitor? If the answer is no, you're going to need a lot of motivation, because no matter how hard you work, the people in the background are saying, oh, well, he's not that great or she's not that great. So I guess the answer is start as you mean to continue. The burn and churn and the catch and kill, those days are behind us. You can catch or kill your way to 750,000 in GCI. You will not do it to the top of town. You absolutely will not be able to compete with the heavy hitters if your attitude is burn and churn. So if every vendor you interact with becomes a fan and speaks highly of you, that's better than the bus stop advertising and the DLs and the side banners and all that crap. So if everybody you interact with, and it's easy for me to say this, I'm literally just saying to you, you should be exceptional at your job and everybody should walk away happy. Now there's one major issue with that theory, and that's expectations. If vendors didn't have expectations, we wouldn't have a job. So it's a balancing act between promising them enough to win the business, but not too much that you can't deliver, and running a good enough process. And to be really good at our job, you actually have to think completely differently, because traditionally, or at least in my opinion, you're either a good selling agent or you're a good listing agent. But to be very good, you need to be good at both. And one of them is selling a service. So we walk in, we're all dressed up, we're looking great, and we tell people for an hour why we're the best in the world. The other one is actually following a process for 4 weeks, or however long in this current market. The point I'm making is they're very different processes. You need to do them both very accurately. If you get it right, you'll have people out there in your marketplace that's providing what is still recognised as the single best type of marketing, which is word of mouth.
Word of mouth. Okay. If anyone's got any questions, stick it up. Mish is there with the microphone. Great opportunity. 5.8 million. If you're not doing that already, well, he's a guy that you can ask some questions on how to get there. When did your business turn from being a salesperson, knocking on doors, slogging it out, when did it turn into a business?
I never knocked on doors, just an FYI.
Okay, interesting.
I had a theory, and don't get me wrong, if you're knocking on doors and it's working, good on you. But my attitude was nobody of value ever knocked on my door without being invited, you know? The pizza man, you get him to come, you want him to be there. Somebody trying to sell you a certain type of religion is not often welcome, and I don't think a real estate agent, knock knock, who is it, is, and I don't mean to degrade anybody that's doing it. I didn't do it, it didn't work for me. What was your question when I started to walk?
Okay, when did your business go from salesperson knocking on doors, which you don't do, that's clear. When did it turn from, okay, well, I'm giving this a go, but okay, I'm going to turn this into a business where I can focus on growing market share, focus on gross commission, number of sales, bringing an extra support person in, growing a team.
Do you want the honest answer?
Go for it.
When I stopped partying, the first few years I just thought it was all fun and games, and I was selling houses, making money, spending money, thought I was a bit of a hero, which happens at a young age when you've got success. Then I realised there was a bit more to this, that I could actually set myself up for life. I could challenge myself. I could prove myself. Everybody's got an opinion. Everyone in this room. We all have an opinion. We all watch one event. We'll all see it differently. We'll all share our opinions. But the beautiful thing about performance is it gets rid of the bullshit. It's not subjective. It's matter of fact. And it's, yeah. So for me, when I started to take my job seriously.
Okay. And team structuring. Who's in your team?
So there's myself. Obviously, as the lead agent, I have a co-agent, Kaylee, administrators, Denise, and a prospector as well. So that's the EBU system, and anybody who does well, in my opinion, or in my experience in our industry, has a team. There's an expression, if you want to go, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So your first job, if you're here in this room and you're writing 2, 3, whatever you're writing, your goal now is how do I get my first support member? And then when you get them, you need to say to yourself, how do I work harder than ever to ensure they're working harder than ever? Because what an average performer will do is they'll slack because there's somebody doing the work. But that's when you need to find another gear.
Okay, so, yeah.
I'm just leaving the stage for a minute.
Questions? There's got to be a question out there, surely. Chuck it up, even if it's silly. I ask a lot of silly questions. Go for it. All right. David.
David.
Tony, ever since I've known you, you've been an estate agent of attraction.
Yes.
In your listing present, you are a very, very strong lister. I don't know of a property that friends of mine have called you in and you've not got the listing. In a listing presentation, what's your time frame? Are you talking 45 minutes, an hour, or until the business is done?
No, mate, I'm very much a believer. To answer your question, my average listing presentation would be very short. I would say, first of all, it's worth noting I do a 2-step process, so I don't see the house at the same time that I present. I go in, see the house, go back, present. 35 minutes as a guess, where I sell, their time is valuable, you know. I see some of my competitors, they go in for 3 hours, and I mean, it's a sure way to make sure you don't get the business, because they're thinking, am I going to have to give this person 3 hours every time they come to my house? So for me, a quick game is a good game. I will literally say to you, David, there's 3 things I want to discuss with you: the value of your home, the process, and the marketing. I can stay for an hour after that. We can wrap up in 25 minutes. You tell me.
Okay, just hinge on that. What was that? What are the 3 things?
So price, process, marketing. What's the value of David's home? What's the best way to sell it? What's the cost of doing so?
Gotcha. Does that answer your question? David from Webster Kavanagh. Any other questions? I think that's a pretty good question. Paul, do you have any questions at the moment, or you're all good? Okay. All right, so moving on. So you got the team structure. What about marketing? What do you do for personal marketing?
Man, I don't. I've heard a lot of different theories. Like, I don't believe in any type of. And the industry, and it's a good topic, the industry really doesn't buy what we're selling. As agents, we actually market to agents. That's the truth of it. We do not market to the consumer. The consumer does not give a shit that you got a 4th place in a quarterly award. We care, honestly. We do, don't we?
Yes.
We don't. Nobody does. No, but maybe your parents or your partner. So the point I'm making is stop marketing to people in a way that they really don't care. Bell, our group, did a survey of 10,000 contracts. Trust was the reason why people hire. Trust is the single highest. Commission was one of the lowest. And billboards and banners and all that. So I don't do an awful lot of, I do DLs. I do DLs in my marketplace. If you list your home with me, I'll promote your home within the suburb because there's so much people that buy within the suburb and they're not always active. So we do that, but that's me promoting my business. But you won't see me on any of the DLs or anything. It's me showing you a property, what you actually want to see. It's not me saying that I'm a hero.
Yep. So personal marketing comes down to things like open homes and auctions. And I mean, how do you run your auction agent or your private treaty or mixture?
Auction. I don't think, or at least I wouldn't be able to be at the level I'm at if it wasn't for auction.
Talk about that if you can.
154 transactions last year, 96 of them were auctions. The other ones couldn't persuade them, not all of them.
So I do understand the thick accent that you have, but I'm trying. 154 sales.
Maybe they just don't care.
154 sales, 96 as auctions.
I thought you said you understood.
Yeah.
96 were auctions of the 154, very few off market, predominantly auction. During the really hot market when most of us were selling pre-auction, we were running everything to auction because generally speaking, you were going to get more. It's a great way for you as a business owner, whether you're running your business within a business, to make sure you're getting the exposure. You know, if you're selling a house in 5 days, did you sell it to the first person to put their hand up, or did you sell it to the highest and best person? And also, you just jigged yourself out of 3 weeks of open homes. So to answer your question, heavily geared on auction. I couldn't be at the level I'm at if it wasn't for auction. In the good months last year, I was doing 16, 17 auctions a month, selling, because the market was so good, you'd sell all except one or two, and you'd sell them a couple of days later. So
16 or 17 auctions a month? I'm sorry to butt in there.
No.
How do you manage that? Do you do them all on a Saturday, or do you spread them up? Do you do midweeks, or what do you do?
I don't do any. I try to stay away from Saturday auctions. In the height of the market, what was happening was I was doing a vendor meeting with you on a Friday, and I'm saying to you, okay, at 10 a.m. tomorrow our auction is on. I think we have 6 registered bidders. Reality of it is 3 of them are actually bidding at this auction, that auction, and that auction. So come 10 o'clock on a Saturday, we were still hoping that we had all of our audience. So what I suggested to my owners was, let's bring our auctions to Thursday, where we're ahead of the pack. It worked quite well, and we never went back. Plus, from a business viewpoint, you can't do the volume we're doing and do it all on a Saturday. You can't do 15 opens and 4 auctions on a Saturday. It's too much.
Yes, it is. So, okay, pushback when people say, all right, Tony, I like your style, but don't give me that auction crap you're talking about. I just want to put a price on it. And, agents these days, it says auction, they don't give us a price, and I just don't want to go down that track.
Look, the reality of it is if we do our presentation well enough, the pushback should be minimal. So your presentation is about winning business and closing doors on the way through. And that's why I'm in and out in 35 minutes, because I'm not in there for their opinion on the market. I'm there to provide mine. And everybody has an experience in real estate. Their grandmother sold a house 4 years ago, all of that, and we all have to listen to that. And if you don't do a well enough job at owning your position at the table, you'll find yourself being told what their opinion is, which quite frankly is not the reason why you're there. To answer your question, if you ask me in October, my response will be, well, what price would you put on the property? And irrespective of what they say, the reality is as simple as this. We sell it a few days later, it was too low. Nobody comes through the door, it was too high. I don't know the value of your home, and I'm, inverted commas, an expert. So how the hell do you know? So my suggestion is we don't cap your outcome, we don't reduce your sale price, we focus on competition, and we let 10 people fight in your yard.
There we go.
Boom.
Stephen and Troy, any of you guys are auction agents? Do you have any questions about auctions or anything? No?
I guess I just want to know what your sort of daily process is, Tony. How you go about
I've got a girlfriend with 5 years.
Well, so daily process?
Dating process. You mean time frames?
Yeah, what entails a day with calls, those sort of things?
He's asking about the duration of a campaign.
Mish, can you...
Sorry.
Just want to know what your daily process
Or
includes.
daily process.
Yeah, like calls.
Yeah. So,
etc.
mate, I do have a very structure, and I'm a very not natural. I'm not a structured person. I'm absolutely chaotic, and it works for me, and I'm okay with that. But to answer your question, I do have structure in my day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, from 8 until lunchtime, I'm completely unavailable doing calls. I still do, which most people at my level don't. I do all my buyer calls. It's a point of difference. It's part of the reason why I've been able to pass out to people in my marketplace, because they became listing agents as I continued to be a sales agent. Monday, Tuesday, 8 a.m. to lunchtime, I'm calling every buyer I've met on the weekend. Wednesday, pipeline, just once a week, talking to my pipeline. Thursday, Friday, I'm appointments all day. Monday to Wednesday, lunchtime to whatever, I'm appointments all avo. I also reduce,
Didn't you say you're not structured?
yeah. It took a long time of doing it wrong to become this structured. And it became accountability of a team. People saying to me, you know, you need to do this now, when I didn't want to do it. And then after a while, you start to really get in a rhythm. And when the success comes, then you want to tune stuff rather than ignoring it.
Does that answer your question? Okay, so moving on to, so you started off, you've got an idea of how to set up your business, you understood that, you put some team structure into place. So 154 sales later, what's the next step for the Tony O'Doherty business? I mean, I know you've got your sales pipeline that you've got to look after, but you've also got your sales team, plus your effective business unit, plus your property management team, and your landlords. What's the next step for you? I mean, you're at the top of the game.
I'm not at the top of the game. I'm aspiring to be at the top of the game, and I will be there, and I want the people around me to be as successful as they can be. Sam Battelle joined us a couple of years ago writing entry-level figures. He's quadrupled in a few years. That to me is success. The people around you doing their best business. What's next for me? I want to continue improving the way we go about our lives professionally. I want to grow the business. I want to be the number one agent in Queensland, and potentially, you good? You good? And potentially the number one agent in the country, which I don't know if it's achievable given the advantage that some areas have in terms of sale price. You know, I mean, Alexander Phillips will be hard to beat, because if I sell the houses he sells, these are 3 times more expensive. So I just want to reach my full potential. I want to keep growing, keep performing, and yeah, keep getting invited to functions like this. What do you reckon?
The thing we all, hopefully agree with me, is there's no dead air with Tony. He's just a genuine guy, and I think at the listing table that can go a long way. So, okay, this is the stage you're at now. Keep in mind, we've only got a couple of minutes left with Tony, because we've only got a half an hour's time slot, because Tony does have to get on with business like the rest of us. So, any other questions for now? Amy, from Caloundra.
Hi, Tony. I wanted to know, have you always backed yourself, or is that something that you've drawn on inspiration from others around you?
Very good question. No, definitely not. Have I always backed myself? Definitely not. I'm absolutely shitting myself sitting here. I hate talking publicly. Subconsciously, I believe, what have I got to say that they don't already know? I'm not a hero. Why am I even here? So self-doubt, I have it straight down the middle, but I get up every day and I keep fighting and I keep moving forward. I think that the difference between me and other people in the room is I don't surrender to it, but there's nothing that you have that I don't, in a positive or a negative way. Of course I have self-doubt, but what gets me up in the morning, keeps me alive. I've become more confident because the results have said, hey, it's okay, you can do this. But I start every January thinking, fuck, how did I do that last year? Can I do it again? That's how I start the year. And if you're not thinking that way, then I'm going to say you're complacent, you know? Because that's how I start the year, thinking, can I swear again?
It's already done.
You give it a go. Fuck.
Fuck yeah, mate.
See, the cobwebs are coming off. To answer your question, it's a very good question, and I'll openly say to a room full of people, I don't have any more confidence than the average person here. I have more self-doubt than 3 of you combined, but I just keep moving forward, which is what I suggest you do.
Is that enough? Because Amy, you've moved into sales. Yeah. How many months now? Week 2. Boom.
Well done. Give her a round of applause. Really good.
Yeah.
Don't quit.
from the
Keep pushing.
PM world. Yeah.
You already know what it's about. It's about relationships and looking after people. You're no longer selling a service, you're selling a product. Simple. Good luck.
Good question. Well, Matt.
So you mentioned the sink or swim, like you've had 7 people cycle in the same seat as you. So how do you see training and development of new talent coming into the business going forward?
Mate, I think really you need to treat this game like any other game. You don't become a doctor or even a dentist or even an electrician 8 months into your career. So I think this is quite similar. Look, the reality of it is we jump too quickly because we think it's easy, and those agents often take 10 years to never get anywhere and end up leaving the industry. So what I would do if I was starting again, I would align myself with the heaviest hitter in our marketplace. I would spend 4 or 5 years with him or her, learn what the game is inside out and upside down, and keep pushing. You know, that's the way I would do it. But absolutely, you have to see this as a traineeship, apprenticeship, whatever you want to call it. At the end of this, let's talk about revenue for a second. People go to be a surgeon, it takes them a decade. They go to be an accountant, it takes them 6 years. They both have one thing in common. At the end of it, they do not have the capacity we have, yet we want to do it in 12 months. So the earning capacity in this industry right now, and this is something I want to touch on as well, is remaining strong with our fees. But the earning capacity is phenomenal. So do you want to, give it half a go and get half a result, or do you want to give it a full go and have a full result? So that's the way I would, to answer your question, I would see it as a career, not just go and be a sales rep for a pharmaceutical company. They'll give you the product. That's the big fundamental. The big fundamental in our game is you have to get the goods to sell the goods. That's what separates the men from the boys and the girls from the ladies, quite simply.
Answer your question, Matt? Good stuff. So if there's someone out there that says, look, I'm doing 600,000. My marketplace just isn't big enough. Some bloke told me I could do 2 million. It's just not big enough. I just, somebody else says, no, don't ever reach for those heights. What do you say about that?
I would say that with that mindset, you're absolutely correct. You will not pass 600 because that's the mindset of a loser. If you want to have a winner's mindset and open your mind and the horizon, it's out there. The GC is out there. Alex Jordan's taking it. Other people are taking it. Come and get it from us. Get it from the average agents that are out there. It's there to be got. And as long as you have excuses, you will be correct. There's an expression, whether you think you're right, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you think you can't, I guarantee you're right. Guarantee you, because you've already quit before the race started. This is a game where you must have a winner's mindset. This is a performance industry. You are an athlete, even if I don't feel like one. That's the mindset of a winner. It's as simple as. It's black and white, it's clear. If you want to be, and I'm going to be brutal, if you want to be weak and have excuses, boom, you got it.
Go all Irish.
Yeah. Or hardcore, throw in another swear.
Okay. I just want to get him that state where he goes all Irish. Right. What would you do differently?
It's a good question, It's a good question because I do ask that of myself. It's a very broad and deep question. Would I change areas? Would I go for a Carindale style of market where it's a 1.2 and there's loads of stock and you can just go hard? Would I go further up the food chain where you're clipping bigger tickets? What would I do different? I don't have a conclusive answer. I don't really have a conclusive answer. I don't have an answer for you. I'd speculate because the marketplace in the farm area is something I've often thought about. But I don't have regrets. I've gone hard. I've given it my all. My record can stand next to anybody's, but I wanted to stand next to my own. I don't have regrets. I'm happy with what I've done, and I've never been this, naive as I am now. I'm ready to go forward. I've never been this green, and yeah, what can I say? I'm just young and hungry and foolish. Eh?
Yes, good stuff. 2 types of agents. There's farmers and they're hunters. Do you believe in farm areas, or do you believe in just picking up business wherever it is?
Name an agent. I don't care. Name an agent of note anywhere in the country. They're not catch and kill. Simple as. It doesn't work. It works to a $500,000 GCI, and in the year after you go backwards because it's a business built on energy. It's not even a debate. It's not even an opinion. It's a matter of fact. any heavy hitter in our industry, male, female, Queensland, wherever, they all have farm areas.
Okay, any last questions? Because we've reached our quota almost with Tony. 5.8 million. Any questions about listing, prospecting, marketing, negotiating, transacting? Tim, you got anything? Have a quick think about it. John and Gigi.
You don't
Murray
have to ask
back
any
there.
questions. I'm okay.
Is there any one thing that got a quick career? Kale, good stuff.
Hey mate,
Take care.
you auction a lot of properties in a pretty competitive marketplace
Yep.
amongst probably some of the biggest agents in Brisbane.
Yep.
How do you find that you typically separate yourself from doing the same process as what other people in a
And
listing presentation?
I think every part of our business you have to be different, and that's the whole, like everything we do a little bit different. Everything from the day we launch to the day we do auctions to the auctioneer we use to the way. So for me, I rely on my personality. I'm very good at building rapport. The more exposure I get to people, my intentions are pure. I hate the bullshit dickhead agents that dominate our industry. It's just a brutal reality. Our industry is dominated by ego instead of hard work and performance. So to answer your question, how do I win at the listing table? But that was kind of your question. I just be me. I lose a lot. I lose more than anybody else in this room because I go in for more than anybody else in this room. And sometimes I'll be looking at a vendor halfway through a listing presentation thinking, do I want this? You know? Like, you have to be careful when you're chasing. Sometimes you can be like a dog chasing a car. You don't know what to do when you catch it. So you have to be very careful with some vendors. Follow your gut. It's not a case. In this market, you'll be fine. List them all. They'll all sell. Hunky-dory. In another market, are you gonna? Yeah. So I don't fight for everything. I will look at a vendor in the eye and say, I don't think I'm the best person to represent you. You know, I'll walk away as well. When I want something, when I'm on, I honestly, wholeheartedly believe I can beat anybody. My issue is wanting it and being on enough. So my listing rate is nowhere near as high as the other high performers in the industry. It's an area where I need to improve. I have to want it, which is a fault of mine. I'm not always on. I'm not always using the 8 cylinders.
How do you think that you stay on then?
Choose what I go in for and what I don't. I can't continue to go in for everything because I lose my shine across the board. So maybe I need to do less and do it better. But yeah, I'm still working on that. That's why I say I'm still young and foolish and hungry, because I am. I'm still trying to figure it all out, you know?
Is that good, Kale?
I'm not sure I answered his question.
Yeah, that's good enough.
It's a bit of a tangent.
All right. Okay, we could have Tony up here all day. Is there any last questions before we wrap it up? I know there are a million. John? Stafford?
How big's your farm?
Okay, good question. I prospect a postcode 4171 Balimba, Balmoral, Hawthorne. So it's 3 suburbs in one postcode. Prospect about 4,500 houses within. So I pick 1,500 in each 3, and I consistently market and talk to those people. So that's the answer to your question. Is I pick 1,500 of the best houses in the 3 areas within the same postcode, and we're continuously active in all 3 suburbs. Thank you.
Is that good, John? Okay, team, I think we've reached our quota here with Mr. Tony O'Doherty. Now, Tony's just come here today out of his good grace because he wants to give back and help others grow. So, Tony, I really think you're a top guy, a really good ambassador for the industry. So thank you for your time here today. Please, team, give Tony a massive round of applause.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you taking the time. So thank you very much.